So it's not very often that we get major rules changes in sports that also affect the video games. I think probably the most recent one we had was the change to overtime, and that how that affected Madden, and that each team can possibly get 2 possessions as opposed to just going down the field and kicking a field goal to win it. And I think that one benefited Madden. The one that just went through for the NFL, I think could have positive benefits if EA implements it well, and that's the change to extra points. Now, extra points in Madden, that's been the biggest time waster of all in the game, because you get there, you've scored the touchdown, you have to pick your play, your kicking play. If you're on defense, you have to pick block, kick. You know it's going to be good. It's 100% good unless you try to miss on purpose. And online, you're stuck waiting for your opponent to pick the play. Maybe they're frustrated. They let the 10 seconds run out. It's just a complete waste of time. So the new rule is that they've backed up extra points from the 2 to the 15. So it becomes a 32-yard kick. The 2-point conversions stay at the 2-yard line. Theoretically, at least in real life, this is going to mean more teams go for 2-point conversions because the rate at which they make kicks from that distance is not any longer over 99%. There's also the potential for the defense to return a turnover for 2 points of their own. So my hope with this is that it creates a situation where the extra point is no longer just a waste of time in Madden. The problem is 32-yard kicks in Madden are gimmies. They're not 91% like in real life. They're almost 100% unless there's some wind and you misjudge it and you're not paying attention. So will more people go for 2-point conversions in Madden? I think possibly, but it only depends if EA changes that extra point, the kicking, to make it a little more difficult from near 100% down to 91%, which is the real life number. And then you have the 2-point conversions in real life are converted at about 46, 47%. So that's actually a little better than the extra points. But Rich, when I suggested this would be a good thing for Madden, you immediately reacted on Twitter saying that it was a terrible thing for Madden.
I think my tweet was change best to worst, and then I would agree.
Yeah. That was perplexing to me because I don't know why anyone would want to keep extra points the way they were. So tell me what your argument is here, because I can't get behind it based on that.
Well, a couple things. Number one, the extra point is a huge time waster in the real NFL too, right? Yes. I mean, it's not Madden's fault that it's a time waster. Mm-hmm. We argue all the time about realism and simulation. Well, if you're going to be realistic in simulation, and you got to have an extra point. So that starts with the NFL. In fact, the only thing that's a bigger time waster in the real NFL are the never-ending video reviews that somehow seem to take 20 minutes that should take like 30 seconds. Or, the far too often penalties. What's interesting is I think, frankly, that you and I are pretty lucky when it comes to Madden, because we play in a terrific league, an online league with a great community, and we sort of police ourselves to where if anybody plays in a way that is too aggressive or just too over the top, we we give them a little warning, and then ultimately hey, look, you're not going to be in the league anymore. But most people don't have that kind of a community. And my feeling is that what this is going to do to Madden, to the regular Madden players, is basically mean that there's going to be nothing but 2-point conversions every single play, because the people who tend to play Madden a lot online are going to figure out how to get really, really good at those 2-point conversions really, really quickly. The extra point will cease to exist. And I have a feeling that the overall experience for people playing Madden online will dramatically be lowered, because everyone is going to go for 2. And you give people a little bit of a window. We've seen it not just on sports games online, in any online video game, right? It's very hard to find that right balance between people who play a game in a way that is fun versus those who play just to win. And I see this being something that is really going to change the balance in a very negative way for a large number of Madden players.
See, and I would I would think that always going for 2 would actually be fun. There was a mode in NCAA football for 1 year called the overtime drill, and as you know, in NCAA football or in college football, once you've scored twice, once the two sides have scored twice, they're forced to go for 2, and that just created some incredible drama. And so you're adding a play to Madden where potentially not only is it interesting what could happen on that 2-point conversion, but you as a defense, if they're going for 2 and they pass and you pick them off and take it the distance, you got 2 points yourself. So I think it keeps you engaged in Madden for that play in a way that the extra point never could. That's my opinion on it. I actually think it would be fun to have more 2-point conversions, and I'm going to do it in our league, Rich. I'm going to do it every time. When I play you, I'm going for 2 every time. And you better watch out. But a lot does depend on coaching styles. You know, are you a conservative or aggressive? Personnel. Do you have a big bruising running back or fullback that you trust from 2 yards out? Do you have a quarterback that can get to the edge and make something happen too? Do you have a Tim Tebow on your roster, Rich, as an Eagles fan?
I met him.
You can do some stupid jump pass if you want, Rich. They're just like you did in college. So, I mean, and then also, how good is your kicker? Now that doesn't really matter in Madden. What's the weather like? That might not matter in Madden. So I'm not sure, unless EA makes kicking a little more difficult, we're going to see much different. I'm not sure anybody's really going to go for 2 all the time because the kick's at the 32. Because everybody knows once you're inside like 49 yards, you can make that kick with just about anybody in any situation. So yeah. I don't see it really like wrecking what you perceive to be like the sanctity of the way to play the game, but it makes things interesting if it actually does disrupt that a little bit.
Well, let's be clear, right? Kickers in the NFL are really, really good. I mean, again, that's why kicking is relatively easy in Madden inside 40 yards, is because people who are the kickers in the real NFL are great at it. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the numbers. I haven't recently, but I've definitely read pieces that have highlighted how significantly the field goal conversion percentages have increased over the years as kickers has gotten better. Plus, obviously, playing indoors in some of these stadiums also has a lot to do with it. But the bottom line is the kickers today are better than a lot better than kickers from 20 years ago, much less 40 or 50 years ago, right? Yeah. So, again, that's why it's relatively easy to make these kicks. If you made kicking difficult in Madden, you would see very non-realistic, numbers when compared to the real NFL. I think my other concern, I'm just real quick. My other concern is that, we saw for the first 2 months of Madden last year, there were money plays like the 0-1 trap, right, where you could guarantee that you could get 4 yards or 5 yards no matter what the offense, or what the defense did. And while Madden and all of the online sports games do a good job of sort of tracking and getting feedback and making patches and updates, again, this is a prediction, right? My prediction is that this is going to alter the balance of these games much more in favor of people who are better at the game than those who are just trying to play for fun. And we've seen it happen many, many times. Exploits, money plays, once they get discovered, they get used a lot, and it diminishes the quality of the online experience. And to me, this feels like that's going to happen. I could be wrong. I want to be wrong. I just have a feeling that's going to be the result of this.
Those people who would affect the online experience are going to do it regardless of this rule change, right?
Sure.
This just might give them excuse to do it, or to say, no, it's actually sim, because the Eagles go for 2 75% of the time in real life. So get with it. Do that. Yes, they are. So get with it. So I don't think you can avoid that, or really look at this and say that it's just going to cause all sorts of problems with online games.
No, I'm not saying it absolutely will. What I'm saying is that in observing how people interact and feedback, from, our friend TJ, plays Ultimate Team all the time. Like in all of these games, people look for exploits and money plays, and I just have a feeling. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, so I'll stop after I say this for the third time. I just have a feeling this is one of those things that's gonna happen so much more often because it's going to present itself that much more. It's just gonna lead to more people not having a good time.
In theory, it could, but I don't see that happening with this particular rule change. I don't think it would make that much of a difference. And going back to percentages, yeah, you're right. Kicking is very high percentage now. Like I mentioned earlier, 91% from 32 yards. But in Madden, that's 100%. That's a big difference. The chance of missing 10% of the time is a big difference, or 9%
Agreed.
of the time in that. And then once you get to 50 yards, and I don't know the numbers on that in the NFL. It's probably like 80%. But in Madden, again, it's like 95% or something.
I think it's less than 80 in the real NFL. It's definitely. I mean, I miss field goals from 45 and beyond regularly in Madden, and it's not because I'm not good. It's because just it's harder to hit those field goals when you're 45 plus out. It's not 100%. No way.
No. Okay. Well, once you get in that area at the end of a game, let's say in overtime, you just need a field goal. You get to that area. You feel good about it. You feel super good about it.
If you're inside the 30, know you're going to get that kick. Now, granted, online, we've all had that little moment of lag that makes you a little, wary. That happens too.
Yeah. So I would just like to see that chance of missing rise a little bit. Doesn't mean it's gonna make it kicking really difficult or super complicated or anything. But if you go back and look at like in All Pro Football 2K8, their kicking system was more challenging. You could still get it down. But you couldn't just sit there. I couldn't just close my eyes and do it, right? Which is what we do in Madden now on an extra point. You can do it without looking. I do it all the time. I'll do it real fast, too, just out of boredom, and it's still good. So they just need to find a way to better represent the percentages. And we're not saying make it really hard, but if you can get it to where, hey, I feel like I have a chance of missing unless I completely concentrate and really line it up perfectly. And depending on kicker ratings, which don't seem to matter much other than power. I mean, really, when you look for a kicker in Madden, all you care about is power. It's the only thing that matters. So it's just about getting those things to play out in a realistic manner. And I think making a play more interesting that was a complete waste of time before is a net positive for Madden. I don't have the same concerns you do.
Well, all right. Well, we'll see. As with everything else, we'll actually see what happens with this. So it'll be very interesting to follow how this happens.
Yeah, we'll see in our league when we look at my percentages of going for 2-point conversions. We'll see how you feel about that, Rich. We'll see.
Yes, we will. And we also know that you could get banned at any time, Mr. Weedeye.
No, I would have to ban. I would ban myself, man. I'm not going to do that. Come on, I love it. It's realistic. Look at the Eagles' percentages, Rich. That's what I'll be saying in 6 months.
We shall see, my friend. We shall see.